Hello and welcome to another episode of Halloween Cafe. So today I woke up and I was very surprised to check my analytics and see that I actually got some comments on my last video. So I would like to say thank you. It's really nice to see that people watch my videos and comment even. Because especially as someone who doesn't comment a lot, or actually I never comment on videos when I watch things on YouTube. I'm the typical silent viewer. So yeah, I'm really surprised and happy to see people interacting. I honestly kind of expected to just talk to the void when I upload to YouTube, but apparently the void does have a few people listening. So I'm glad to say hello to the void. And yeah, today I'm continuing with my comic called Nordwald. I still don't know if I should say it in English or German, or how to pronounce it, but as you can see, I'm starting out with a sort of webtoons format for this comic, which is going to change very soon because I decided I want to print this. But right now you'll still see the very long scroller format on the screen. I'm blocking in the shadows right now of the first or second panel. Yeah, this is actually the second panel already. Wow, I'm so fast. And yeah, this comic will require a lot of forest backgrounds, which I like because there's just something really calming about drawing foliage and grass and terrain. I'm the kind of person who gets a little embarrassed when I draw in public or in a cafe, or when I draw something next to someone else who could potentially look over their shoulder and look at what I'm drawing. And so I tend to just draw landscapes whenever I'm in a public setting or when I'm next to other people, which has given me very good practice for landscapes, indeed. It's just a bit sad, because then I also don't really... I feel like I'm limiting myself whenever I'm outside drawing, because I just feel too embarrassed to draw any of my characters, or to draw, new designs or anything. So I just limit myself to kind of neutral backgrounds and forests and scenery. I like drawing a lot of birds too. That's another thing. I kind of just default to drawing animals when I have the feeling that I don't want to show people what my actual art interests are. I guess it's just this sort of lingering shame of being an anime artist, because that kind of used to be cringe. I'm not sure if it's still cringe. Honestly, I don't think it should matter if it's cringe. I mean, we're all kind of cringe at the end of the day, so... But yeah, I still experience a lot of shame for some reason around my drawings. And maybe I'll get over it as I continue this channel. So right now I'm inking the opening sort of setup of the comic, which is just establishing shots, the basics, that are rather typical for, I guess, comic openings. For this comic, as I said, I'm going to be drawing lots of forest, which is why I also lately have been spending a lot of time in the forest, just to sort of get inspiration and to really soak up the atmosphere of the forest and the creepy vibes. And it's actually been really useful, especially because I really like to run at night, or well, not at night, but then when the sun is about to set, so around dusk time, I guess you would call it. And yeah, the atmosphere in the forest is really, really different at night or at dusk. Everything is just quiet and calm, and the crows are making their wild noises up above in the trees, and people are going home for the day after working or taking a walk. walking their dogs. There are lots of dog walkers there where I jog. And it's pretty much my inspiration for this comic. Though right now you can see me drawing lots of pine trees, even though in reality, or at least in the forest that I'm walking around, there are barely any pine trees. It's mostly, well, lots of beech trees. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but you spell it as Beech, which I guess, I mean, how else would you pronounce that? And also maple trees. I'm failing to remember the names in English of these trees. Yeah, moving on. I've already changed the panel layout to an A4 layout instead of the Webtoon scrolling layout. And as I said, it's because I decided I want to print this. And it's pretty much impossible, I think, to actually print a Webtoon formatted comic unless I want to reformat everything and scale everything into the correct size, which is really annoying. So I just thought I would do it in a comic book format from the get-go. Since it's black and white, it should be really easy to print. It shouldn't even cost that much. And then I'll have my own little comic book. I've done maybe 3 pages within the first day of working on this comic, which is a little faster than I expected. Right now I'm more around doing 1 to 2 pages per day, which is an okay pace. I'm really trying to enjoy the process of this project, and I'm hoping to not rush too much towards the end, even though I did put a rather tight deadline for myself. Technically, I was supposed to be done within like 2 weeks, but as most of my projects do, I tend to just blow them up into disproportion, and then it becomes maybe 10 times bigger than it was planned to be. So with this comic, I actually scripted only 10 episodes, and those were supposed to be equals not more than 20 pages, but now I've already inked and completed 20 pages, and we're not even done with half of the story, so it looks like it's gonna be a longer one. But at this point, I should probably expect to not keep my comics as short as I want them to be. But the good thing about the script that I wrote for this comic is that it's very loose. I tend to not want to make it super detailed whenever I plan stories because, well, when I write a story, it's always very planned out, and I do have spontaneous ideas for things I want to add, but usually I don't deviate too much from the original plan. But when I translate stories to comics, it's always a bit different from how I plan it out. It's just, I suppose, adding the visuals to the story always changes things up. It's kind of something I expect at this point, that I'll write a script and it might turn out to be something completely different. And I think that's also the fun part about making comics. As opposed to writing, it's a bit looser, I feel like. And you can do much more with far less writing and scripting. Like, even with just the most recent pages that I drew, I read the script and I was like, I don't really want to draw it like that. Because I added a scene that kind of had a similar message to another scene that was coming later in the script, and then I decided while drawing that it was completely redundant because it basically would give you the same information as the other scene that I planned, and the other scene was more interesting to me. So I feel like once you start drawing the comic, you cut out a lot of the bullshit that you just added in the script because you didn't know what else to write. It's sort of a weeding out process because, well, writing a few lines takes maybe a second, and drawing them out actually takes hours. So comics just make your story a bit more straight to the point, which is ironic, because then in that case I should cut out much more and end up with a shorter comic and not a longer comic. So maybe I'm not doing it right. But yeah, those are the struggles. I always make things much more detailed than they have to be. Oh, and back to the comments that I mentioned. Someone wrote that they would actually I'll look up who wrote that. Yes. Someone called at Rabies6418, great username, wrote that they'd be interested if I actually told a story and drew something relevant to it in the video, which I would absolutely love to do. I'm very happy that you commented that, because I think I'm going to plan something like that very soon. Very soon indeed. And I still have to check if I'll actually write my own story and illustrate it, or if I'll maybe find a book in the library, like an anthology, and read a story out. I still have to look what I'll do there. But yeah, I would definitely like to do something like that. I know that it's already kind of a genre on YouTube. At least I've seen many other people doing sort of illustrated storytelling. But I don't think I've ever seen anyone write their own story and then make an illustration. But I could also just not be aware of a bunch of YouTubers who already are doing that. But yeah, I would like to try that. I am sort of a hobbyist writer or wannabe author, because I have written a book in the past, which was technically for a school project. Like a graduation project, or just a project that you have to complete in order to pass the exams and to get the diploma at the end. But I also actually would have written that either way. It's just, it was practical to also pass it off as my finishing school project. And I just enjoy writing, even though I'm still a beginner. It's still quite rough. Clearly I like writing comics, so I'm definitely trying. Oh, and right now on the screen is my favorite panel so far. Just a really close-up detail shot of our two main protagonists, which I always enjoy drawing. It's just, my favorite thing to draw is portraits of my characters, and this one's a really nice one. I really had it in my head that at the start of the comic there should be a nice detailed close-up panel or whole page of just the two main characters staring into the camera. I also wanted to do a sort of interesting fisheye perspective or fisheye lens effect, but in the end I just kind of cheated and used the perspective tool to make it sort of look like it's from above, the angle is from above. I'm still kind of trying to learn how to do different perspectives. It's really difficult for me. Oh, and also my art style is completely all over the place with this project, because partially I just want to make it a more simplified anime-esque art style, because that's just faster to draw. But on the other hand, like in this detailed panel, you can see that it's a bit more semi-realistic. Not necessarily from the proportions, but just the details are a little less stylized, I would say. I mean, it's still extremely stylized. It's definitely nowhere near realistic in terms of proportions, but yeah. I just thought I could pull a sort of SpongeBob detailed panel thing where during the show, something silly would happen, and then to emphasize the situation, there would be just a still single shot of a very, very detailed illustration of the characters where they just look way too realistic. So yeah, I'm kind of doing something like that here. Alba is staring into the camera or whatever lens into the viewer menacingly or forebodingly, I don't know, depends on how you interpret it. And our little owl, Neil, is smiling happily, as much as an owl can smile, I suppose. This page also really made me think or notice, I suppose, that My comic really looks like a manga now that I made it in an A4 format and in a page style format instead of a webtoon format, which I don't really know if I should call it a manga or a comic now, because I kind of always had it in my head that manga is only from Japan. But apparently some people think it's a manga if you make it in a quote-unquote manga art style. I don't know. I think it doesn't matter what you call it. I'll just continue calling it a comic, because I'm more used to that word. Oh, and here I'm struggling with drawing hands, which is very relatable, I'm sure. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun inking this, because I can just kind of experiment with the cross-hatching and the hatching and really try to push the potential of black and white drawings, which I'm still somewhat bad at, because I feel like in a lot of my panels it's a bit unclear which objects are supposed to be in the foreground and which objects are less important and therefore should be ignored. I'm trying to sort of direct the viewer's eyes by using detail. So like if the character is supposed to be the focal point of the panel, I'll add more detail to the character, and everything else around the character should ideally have less detail so that the eye focuses a bit less on those things. From my other comic, Heart Adoption, I'm very used to being able to direct the attention of a panel, or the attention of the viewer, towards areas in the panel via lighting or shading, I suppose. Because, yeah, that comic, Heart Adoption, is just fully colored, fully shaded, with soft shading and cel shading partially, and I also paint the backgrounds. It's really, it's a lot of work. But yeah, I can direct the viewer's attention towards the focus of the panel via colors usually. But here I don't have colors. So I need to solve my problem somehow without using colors, and I'm struggling. Oh, and here you can see me using reference. Though I don't think it helped me very much because that pine cone still looks kind of funky. But that's okay. So yeah, and here is another panel that I really love, or page I guess, because it's a whole page. I just wanted a nice establishing shot of the forest and how Alba reaches sort of clearing where you can nicely see the trees and the way the shadows engulf her and she steps into the light, so to say, onto this clearing. And I just really enjoy it. I like the shapes that I did here. I'm very happy with this one. And you can see I also was struggling a little bit with the scale in the beginning. I didn't know how big Alba should be compared to the background, and then I decided it should zoom out more. Yeah, just things I sort of figure out as I go. And go with the flow, and I don't overthink things too much. My hand always hurts after inking the grass and the leaves because it's just so much small detail work. Since it's really easy to make custom brushes in Clip Studio Paint, I should actually just, like a smart artist would just make a custom grass brush and a custom leaf brush and a custom pine needle brush, but I'm kind of half lazy, half I don't know what to call it, because if I was truly lazy I would make those custom brushes so that the rest of the comic is much easier to do. But for some reason I'm too lazy to actually just make the brushes. But on the other hand, a true lazy person would just make the brushes. You know what I mean? You're supposed to do something to make your life easier, but you don't because you're too lazy, but you're also just making your life harder by being too lazy. I know, it's a common problem. Also, I should probably make a cross-hatching brush. Clip Studio already has cross-hatching brushes as a preset, but I don't like them because they look too clinical. I should probably also do that. Oh, and also make a maple leaf brush, because they are notoriously annoying to draw, at least in my opinion. Like making that weird star shape, I don't know, my hand doesn't like it. And voila, those are my first 4 pages of my comic called Nordwald. I think they turned out pretty good. It's a start, as in it's definitely going to change a bit in terms of style, but I think so far I'm quite happy with the art style I chose. And the way the panels are laid out, I'm definitely still learning. I come from doing webtoon formatted comics, so it's definitely going to be a bit of a learning process for me. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a lovely day, or are going to have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time.